Should men cry in relationships? Let's take a look at that question. Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. Today I want to talk about a topic that seems to be coming up a lot on social media. I've seen this scenario and this discussion happening so much that I was just like, all right, I have to make a video about this because apparently people are really talking about it, and it seems like a weird topic to me, but I'm just gonna go with it. So follow this scenario. I keep hearing that women are telling men that they want them to be more vulnerable. So then the man cries and the woman loses respect for him and then breaks up with him. Apparently this is a phenomenon that's going on, and I keep hearing this happen, and I keep seeing, I mainly see this as advice for men and telling men this is evidence that you shouldn't cry in a relationship. I think that's bad advice, but I really want to break down this because apparently this scenario is happening a lot. So I really want to break this down because I do think that there's a lot of nuance to this topic. So the first aspect of this that I want to talk about is the concept of women telling men that they want them to be more vulnerable in the relationship. Like typically a woman telling his male partner she wants him to be more vulnerable. Now, full disclosure, I've never said that to a man, and I can't imagine what scenario I would want to say that to a man. Like, I've never felt a desire to say that to anybody. It's difficult for me to really get in my head and think of like, okay, what would I be thinking that would make me want to say that to a man? Like, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. However, what I can say is, I don't believe a woman would ever say that to a man if what she really wanted was for him to just start crying in front of her. So if there are guys watching, don't do that. Like, that's not what she means. I can guarantee you that if a woman says that to you, that's not what she means. So what does a woman mean when she tells a man that she wants them to be more vulnerable? There's a long list of possibilities, right? I mean, it probably depends on the woman, it depends on the moment. Some things that I could imagine maybe a woman would be thinking would be that she wants him to be more sensitive to her, maybe be more sensitive to her expressing her emotions or something like that. She may feel like he's very closed off, maybe his heart is closed down, and she wants to feel more connected to him. It may just be she feels like something's missing, and that's just the first thing that came out of her mouth, and she didn't really know what she really wanted from him in that moment. There could be any number of reasons. What I would recommend for the women watching, first of all, don't say that. Like, just don't say I want you to be more vulnerable, because at the end of the day, clearly, based on everything I've seen on social media, men have no idea what, and I don't really have any idea what you mean by that. So like, I don't even know what to tell men, right? Don't say that. What I would encourage women to do in a relationship, like, men need more information. They don't do well with these broad ideas. So what I would suggest women do is to get more clear for yourself on what it is that you would like from your partner. If what it is, say for example, you really wish that you had more time, like at the end of the day, you wish the two of you could actually like sit down and discuss your day. And that's something that's really important to you because it would make you feel closer to him. Express that. Say, I would really like it if we maybe took a little bit of time at the end of the day and really got to connect. It would make me feel closer to you, and that would really make me feel good. Like, let a man know what would make you feel good. Now, if he doesn't do it, well, then you gotta question whether or not you want to keep the man. But letting a man know, like, hey, this is what I would really like from you. If you just say, I want you to be more vulnerable, he's just gonna start guessing what that is. And in many cases, he may guess wrong because he doesn't know, he's not in your head, right? So what I would suggest to women is to get more clear with yourself on what it is that you really are desiring from your partner, and then express that to them. It may even be something as simple as, I'm feeling disconnected from you. Instead of putting it on him and saying like, I want you to be more vulnerable, say, I'm feeling kind of disconnected from you and I'd like to find a way that we can feel more connected. You know, like, say that and express that, as opposed to just giving him some kind of like broad general idea of, I want you to do this, and he's gonna be like, I don't know what that means. And again, he might just start guessing and he might guess wrong. So next thing you know, you've got a man lying on the floor crying his eyes out and you're like, what happened? Just saying. So that's my advice for women. For men, if a woman says to you something like, I want you to be more vulnerable or something, I would invite you to maybe ask her Like, okay, well, what does vulnerability mean to you? Or like, what does that look like for you? What can I do for you that will make you feel closer to me, or something like that? She may not know immediately, and if the reason why she just said vulnerable was because she felt like something was missing and she didn't really know. What you're doing now is you're now inviting her to go deeper within herself, and you're showing her that you care, that you're not just sort of like, well, I don't understand, well, to hell with her. Like, you're showing her that you actually care and you do want to give her what she wants. You just don't know what that is. So you're inviting her to drop down into her body and ask herself, what is it that I need? She may not have an answer for you immediately. Her ego may step in and she might get upset that you haven't figured it out. I mean, that is a possibility. But at the end of the day, it's really inviting her to kind of drop in and actually share with you, or just create a safe space where she can share with you maybe what she feels like she needs and what that actually means for her. And I think that's just a better way of communicating than you just guessing and then guessing wrong and just being like, okay, I'm just gonna start crying on the floor like a baby. I don't know what other way to put it. I can't imagine that that's what's happening, but apparently that's happening a lot in relationships because I keep seeing people post about this. So, all right. So that's the first aspect of this conversation. The next aspect of this conversation is, should men be able to cry in relationships, or will a woman lose respect for a man if he cries in relationships? This is where I think things get kind of complicated. There's a lot of like nuances to this discussion. And I'm assuming in these relationships that the woman embodies the feminine core being and the male in the relationship embodies the masculine core being. That's just the way I'm assuming this for simplicity's sake. I don't know what that means or what I mean by that. I have tons of other videos where I talk about that. But that's the scenario that I'm imagining in this situation because that's the most common scenario. So I just want it to be more simplistic. If the woman in the relationship is disconnected from her feminine energy, which means she can't connect to her own emotions. She's afraid of her own emotions. She's ashamed of her own emotions. She suppresses her own emotions. She deflects from her emotions. She distracts herself from her emotions. She suppresses them. If she cannot connect to her own emotions, she is never going to be able to be there for a male partner while he's in his emotions. It's not gonna happen. She's not gonna be able to do it. Like, it's a wash. It's not gonna happen. Now, for men, you'll know pretty quickly in the relationship if a woman does that, because feminine energy is emotional energy. Women are very emotional beings, so it won't be too long into the relationship where if you're paying attention at all, you'll be able to tell, okay, is she comfortable expressing an emotion? Is she not? Is she deflecting? Does she use humor, or does she use alcohol, or does she get angry before she feels an emotion? Like, is that, you're gonna be able to pick that up, because with women it tends to be pretty obvious. So if you're a man and you're paying any attention in a relationship, you'll be able to tell if a woman is not connected to her emotions. And if she's not gonna be comfortable with yours. It's not gonna happen. That is on the female partner to deal with that, right? I mean, and granted, in a relationship, two people in a relationship can 100% support and encourage each other. They can set a good example for each other. They can't change each other. That change has to want to come from within. So if the feminine partner doesn't want to deal with things, she doesn't want to connect with her emotions, she doesn't want to connect with her feminine energy, there's just really nothing that a partner can do to make her do that. That's on her, and that's something she's gonna have to handle. You know, it's up to the masculine partner to decide how comfortable he is. Are you comfortable being in a relationship with a woman who won't let you express your emotions because she can't express her own? And that's for you to decide. It's not so much that she loses respect for her masculine partner when he expresses his emotions, although it can look and feel like that. So for the sake of the argument, it's pretty much the same thing. It's more that she resents him being able to express his emotions because she so longs to be able to do that. So she's gonna resent her masculine partner for being able to do that because she can't do that. So it's not gonna be a lack of respect, it's gonna be a resentment, but it's probably gonna come out in ways that are gonna look disrespectful. Like, it's probably gonna be, she could even get mean and insulting, you know, I mean, she could make fun of him, she could make it into a joke, because she's not okay with her own emotions. If you are a woman and you're hearing this and you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, that's me, I don't know how to connect to my own emotions and I wanna learn to connect to my own emotions, I have an online course to help you connect with your feminine energy. All the details will be in the description box below, so if that's something you're interested in, check that out. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is if you are the male in the relationship and you are in a very wounded feminine energy, and I have a lot of videos about men and wounded feminine energy. It's actually very common in our world today. And in that situation, you're always in your emotions, but you're not in a like a healthy connect way with your emotions. You're always emotional because you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with self-hatred, you're kind of like always down on yourself, you're always miserable, and you're in a really wounded place with your emotions, and you feel like you constantly have to express them because you're constantly unhappy. That's something that you need to work on. That's not something that a partner should be responsible for. So, you know, your feminine partner, masculine partner, any partner, if you're just in a constant state of just feeling sorry for yourself, of self-harming activities, depressions, things like that, that's something that you should actively get help for. And if you're a man and you're in this wounded feminine energy and you're constantly in your emotions like this, my suggestion would be to seek out men's groups, connecting with men who are doing inner work, things like that. Like, as much as, again, having a supportive feminine partner can be good and can help to some extent, that kind of wounding usually needs to be healed with, you know, other men and men's groups and connecting with men, having male mentors, things like that. Because a feminine partner can support and encourage her masculine partner to really connect with a healthy masculine energy. She can't lead him into that energy. She can't do it. Like, it's just not, it's not possible. He needs like strong male leadership mentors, things like that. So that's what I would recommend. If you're finding yourself as a man who's like always in your emotions and you're always crying and you're just always whatever, I would invite you to seek healing within yourself. So those are kind of the two extreme examples of when men's emotions are just like gonna shake things up in a relationship, right? So let's talk about the scenario where, say, you know, in general, we all have wounding, we all have traumas, we all have things going on, but like in general, you have a woman in a relationship who's in a pretty good relationship with her feminine energy. She has access to her masculine energy that she can tap into when she needs to. You have the man in the relationship who is the masculine energy in the relationship, but he also is able to tap into his feminine emotions when he needs to. And you have that dynamic, right? Ideally, in that type of partnership, if the man is embodying the masculine energy most of the time, like he's in a really healthy connection to his masculine energy, but he ends up in a situation, could be anything really, you know, loss of a loved one, could be something, or something happens where he needs to express emotion and needs to be in that feminine energy. Ideally, your feminine partner will be sensitive to that and can in that moment shift into a healthy version of her masculine energy and create a safe space for the man to express his feminine energy. Because in reality, what feminine energy craves the most is safety. So if a man needs to shift into his feminine energy, what he really craves is safety, which usually comes from masculine energy. So if the feminine partner can shift into a healthy version of that masculine energy of creating a safe space, that dynamic can work really well, and it can actually be a really beautiful moment in a relationship. Now, what it means to create a safe space is going to be different for every couple. You know, it could mean holding him, it could mean just holding space for him and being there with him while he expresses his emotions and not judging him. It could mean giving him space by leaving the room, but him knowing that you are there, and you know, and that you haven't left him, that you're basically just honoring his space, and that you can come back together when he feels he's ready to. That can look different, and every person's going to be different, every couple's going to be different, every situation might be different. And as you get to know each other in relationships and these things happen, you start to get to know like what each person kind of, what safety means for them and what you can do to provide a safe space for them. I mean, ideally, if the feminine partner is in her emotions, and she probably will be more of the time, ideally the masculine partner is stepping in and doing that for her. So if he needs to step into his feminine emotions, she's not going to resent him for that, because she already feels his safety most of the time. So now she's in the position where, okay, now I can gift this back to him because she feels fulfilled. She feels a sense of stability in her life, and this is just a gift that she's giving to him in that moment because that's what he needs in that moment. That can actually be a really beautiful thing in a relationship. And I don't believe that if it's coming from that place and that's the dynamic, and you both know that you can then shift back into your natural core energies because you've established that that's what your energies are and that's what your relationship is, so that if you do shift out of those energies, you're able to shift back in, and that can be a really healthy thing for a relationship, actually be really beautiful, and can actually bring people closer together. So in those situations, it's not likely that the woman is going to all of a sudden lose respect for the man because of the situation. Now, I actually have two examples from my dating past from many, many years ago. 2 times when a man has cried in a relationship with me, and that sounds really bad, like I'm making men cry in relationships. I don't often, but like I'm just saying. I was thinking back of 2 instances that I can think of where a man cried in a relationship with me, and they were 2 very different situations, so I reacted to them very differently. And this was long ago. This was long before I was doing any of this kind of inner work or anything like that. So I didn't know anything about masculine and feminine dynamics. So this was literally all instinctual. So in one situation, I was dating this guy, and he was a father. He had a son. And we were watching a movie. It wasn't actually a very good movie. I don't even remember what the name of the movie was. But there was a really emotional scene in the movie where like there was a father and son, and they had gotten separated somehow. I don't remember how. And then they came back together in this really like emotional scene, right? And yeah, it was an emotional scene, but like I didn't have a really deep connection to it. I'm not a parent. I'm obviously not a father. So I didn't have like a really strong emotional reaction to it. My boyfriend at the time had a very strong reaction to it. And he started to tear up. I mean, he wasn't like crying like a baby or anything like that, but he did tear up in that moment. To me, it was very sweet. You know, I knew why he was tearing up. I knew obviously he was imagining his situation with his son. And in that moment, because I felt safe, I didn't need anything from him. I was able to, I held his hand, I put my head on his shoulder. That's what I knew to do at the time. And I was able to comfort him and let him know that it was okay for him to express this because I could provide that safe space for him. I believe it brought us closer together. The relationship had other problems, so it didn't last. But in that moment, it was a nice moment where we got to come together. And I did not lose respect for him at all in any way, shape, or form. If anything, it made me respect him more, knowing that he had the capacity for those feelings. Now, different scenario, different boyfriend. I was pretty young, and we were both young, but we were adults, right? We were like early 20s. And I've been dating this guy briefly. We went on a date. He was dropping me off at home. We were both living with our parents at the time. His car broke down in my parents' driveway. And I mean, we weren't like unsafe. It wasn't like a big problem or anything like that. It was just like annoying. We obviously had to deal with the situation. But it wasn't like we were stranded somewhere or something like that or whatever. And he just stood there in the driveway and just started crying. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I have AAA, so I will call AAA. They'll tow you for free. And, you know, you can tell them where you want them to tow your car. And why don't you call your dad and have your dad come pick you up, and we'll take care of the situation and everything and whatever. And everything ended up working out fine. Like, I mean, it worked out. I mean, he had to pay to have his car repaired, which I think was really what he was crying about, was not wanting to have to pay to get his car repaired. But it was one of those things where I was like, dude, like what? Like, what are you doing? He was a rebound from the guy before, so don't judge me too much because I was not in a good emotional state at that point. But anyway, yeah, in that moment, like, I had to step into, it wasn't me creating a masculine safety. In that moment, I had to create the whole masculine structure. I had to be the masculine energy completely in that whole relationship. So it was like, all right, I had to be the one to solve the problem. I had to be the one to create the structure. I had to be the one to make the plan. I had to be the one doing everything. And then there was also the voice in my head of like, okay, well, what if we had been in trouble? Like we'd broken down in a bad area, or, you know, a place that wasn't so safe, or what would, like, then what we have done? Like, he obviously isn't capable of protecting me from anything because he's just standing there and crying. So it's like that. he wasn't embodying any masculine energy in that situation or our relationship at all. And I'm completely capable of handling the situation. I'm completely capable of handling the structure. I'm capable of doing all these things. I was a grown woman. I'm a grown woman now. Like, I'm capable of tapping into that masculine energy and doing those masculine things. I don't want to, particularly if I'm in a relationship. I want a masculine partner who's going to do those things. So if I have to do those things for my masculine partner, I'm gonna resent him. I really am. And yeah, I'm gonna lose respect for him. I mean, I know that's not like the politically correct thing to say, but yeah, I do lose respect for him, because the qualities that I would want to have a masculine partner for, like those traits, those things of creating the structure, solving the problems, being the leader, he couldn't do any of that stuff. I had to do that stuff. And again, I'm capable of doing it, but I don't want to be in partnership with somebody where I have to do those things all the time, because I want to be in a partnership to have a masculine partner take care of those things. So in that scenario, yeah, I did lose respect for him. So when it comes to should men be able to cry in a relationship, yes, I do think they should be able to. I think telling men that they can't cry in a relationship is, I mean, that's asking them to suppress a part of themselves that's really an integral part of all of us. We all need to be able to release emotions in some way, shape, or form. As humans, we all need to do that. Also, if we tell men they have to suppress their emotions, they're going to get really uncomfortable and resentful of women expressing ours. And as women, as feminine beings, we need to express ours, or else things are going to get really ugly. I think it's so important to make sure that we do let men be able to cry, express emotions in some way, as if it's channeled in a healthy way. But we also need to make sure that men know how to embody the masculine energy of being a strong male leader as well. Because the problem isn't that a man cried in front of a woman and she lost respect for him. The problem is he embodying his masculine leadership in the majority of the relationship? Because if he is, and the woman is now relaxed into her feminine energy and they have that good, healthy dynamic, then him crying in a relationship is not going to completely destroy the whole situation. It could actually bring two people closer. It's just, how healthy is the relationship overall? How healthy are the people in the relationship? Is the woman in a healthy connection to her feminine energy and her emotions? Is the man in a healthy connection to his masculine energy and his masculine leadership? When those things are figured out or worked out or in a healthy space, then there's so much more room for people to be able to move, to be human, to be real. And yeah, I really wanted to talk about this topic because I feel like I've seen this come up so much and so often. And I see so many people just telling men, like, don't cry because she won't respect you afterwards. And I'm like, I think that's a really bad message to be sending out. And again, is it possible that a man's gonna cry and a woman's gonna lose respect for him? Yeah, of course it's possible. I guess my point is that if that's what happens, then there was already something else wrong in the relationship to begin with. It's either a sign that the relationship wasn't meant to be, or it's a sign that the relationship has some work that needs to be done. So I hope that summed this up, because I just feel like it's a more nuanced conversation than can just happen in like a quick, like 15-second TikTok clip or something like that or whatever. So I really wanted to talk about this topic. So I hope that some of you found this helpful. If you have any other topics you'd like me to discuss, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I love your suggestions. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up and be sure you subscribe to my channel. If you want to check out my Feminine Radiance online feminine energy course, then check out the description box below along with my social media links so you can see more of my social media content and follow me there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.